When we picture westward expansion, we usually imagine a specific Hollywood scene: comfortable pioneer families riding inside covered wagons, racing across the open American plains. But this map shows the logistical reality of the journey. The Oregon Trail is the nation's longest graveyard, averaging 10 to 15 deaths per mile across the entire route. Almost no one actually rode inside those wagons. The pioneers walked the entire 2,000 miles beside them. This volumetric diagram shows the impossible math problem forcing them on foot. A family of 4 had to pack up to 2,500 pounds of essential food, tools, and survival gear into a single container measuring just 4 feet wide and 10 feet long. Arrival in the West depended on a cold calculation of physics and biology, 6 months of managing weight, calories, and physical exhaustion. The standard Prairie Schooner was a rigid wooden box built from tough hardwoods like oak, hickory, and maple, packed to the brim with life-saving inventory. Builders included absolutely no springs or suspension. The ride was violently bumpy, but pioneers put that kinetic energy to work. They would hang a pail of milk underneath the axle, and the jarring motion would churn it into fresh butter by supper time. The wheels took the worst beating. The intense heat of the prairie caused the wooden spokes to shrink, meaning pioneers had to routinely soak their wheels in rivers at night to prevent the heavy iron tires from simply falling off during the day. To pull this heavy rig, most families chose oxen over horses. Oxen were cheaper, possessed superior endurance, and their 4 stomachs allowed them to survive by digesting the poor, dry prairie grass along the route. Because oxen don't use reins, the pioneers had to steer them manually. A driver walked directly next to the massive animals all day, guiding the team entirely through voice commands, yelling G to turn right and Ha to turn left. The wagon and the oxen functioned together as a finely tuned, interdependent machine. If either the biological engine or the wooden hardware broke down, the family was stranded. This bar chart compares the weight of mandatory adult provisions against the strict limits of an ox team's pulling capacity. A single adult required 200 pounds of flour and 75 pounds of dried bacon just to make it to the destination. When steep mountain terrain exhausted the oxen, families executed a payload purge. They abandoned heavy family treasures: pianos, cast iron stoves, and solid wood furniture, leaving them in the dirt to save their animals. Modern fiction focuses on the danger of Native American ambushes, but tribes were actually vital to a wagon train's success. Native communities served as crucial trading partners for fresh food and operated the canoe ferries necessary to cross deadly, fast-moving rivers. The trail's true apex predator was cholera. This waterborne bacteria thrived in polluted, stagnant pools. It attacked the intestinal lining so rapidly that a perfectly healthy pioneer could die within 12 hours of feeling their first symptoms. Beyond disease, every wagon train was a rolling arsenal where untrained civilians frequently suffered accidental gunshots. Meanwhile, exhausted children routinely fell from moving wagons, suffering gruesome injuries under the unyielding wheels. Pathogens in the drinking water and the heavy mechanical momentum of the wagons killed more pioneers than any dramatic antagonist. For the thousands of children walking the trail, the daily realities were grim. To ward off scurvy, they choked down shriveled, dried apples, ate campfire bread, and routinely drank thick red mud when clean water ran out. The elements battered their bodies relentlessly. Days spent walking through deep clouds of fine, alkaline dust left their faces blistered by the sun and their lips cracked and bleeding. The psychological toll compounded with every mile. They constantly walked past mass graves and hastily hand-carved stone markers left by the travelers ahead of them. One 11-year-old boy methodically counted 32 fresh graves in a single 14-mile stretch. Yet, despite the grueling conditions, the diseases, and a nearly 10% mortality rate, the vast majority of the 300,000 people who started the journey reached the end of the trail. These families survived a 2,000-mile war of attrition by prodding their oxen forward and walking 15 miles a day, every day, for 6 straight months.